I'm Rod Chappell, and welcome back to the Rod Chappell Show. This is a great opportunity for us to look at issues that affect our public and the way that laws affect each individual citizen. Today, we've got a spectacular view with insight into the Capitol itself. We have Dr. Jason Groce, who's worked in the Senate for almost a decade. Jason, thanks for being with us today.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Thanks. Can you tell the folks, our viewing audience today, what is it that you do at the Capitol?
Well, currently I serve as the Chief of Staff for Missouri State Senator Jamila Nasheed. She represents half of the city of St. Louis. And as her Chief of Staff, it is my job to assist in any policy decision that comes up, help make policy recommendations. I help to oversee the budget for our office. So whenever we try to get funding for various organizations within the city of St. Louis or trying to find ways to bring more funding back to St. Louis, my endeavor is to identify those places, talk with the senator about how we can utilize the various departments within the state to bring those resources to the city of St. Louis to better her constituents.
Excellent, excellent. And I noticed, with that policy emphasis and the doctor in your name, are you a doctor or a PhD kind of doctor?
I'm a PhD doctor. I received my PhD this past August, in public policy and administration. So I recently just earned the title doctor.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And what a place to be able to apply that knowledge and insight.
Exactly. In the state of Missouri, working at the Capitol, I thought it was a very befitting place to get my doctorate in public policy and administration, seeing that we are the highest chamber in the state to make laws.
And can you tell us a little bit about that? I know somewhere around second, third, fourth, fifth grade, everybody was like, 3 legs of our democracy, right? You have 3 branches of government. Yeah. And we've got the executive branch headed by the governor. We've got the judiciary headed by the Chief Justice, Judge Draper at this point.
Yes.
Right? And then we've got the legislature. Now, who's the boss over there?
So the legislature is broken down. You have 2 chambers. You have the House of Representatives, and you also have the Senate. Okay. So in the House of Representatives, you have the Speaker of the House that heads the House, and then you have the President Pro Tem of the Senate, who is he is the top senator, but actually the Lieutenant Governor sits as the President of the Senate.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. And so in order for I take it that there are bills that are introduced.
Yes.
Right. And we just had the pre-filing day.
Yes, we just started pre-filing bills on Monday. So Monday was the first day to officially pre-file legislation for the 2020 legislative session. And now you can file bills from now up until the beginning of session. But the first day of pre-filing is always important because legislators always want to make sure they get their priorities out there first to try to get numbered. Now, I believe in the House, when they number bills, I believe, as they come, whereas in the Senate, we have a seniority system that comes. So with the senators, it really doesn't matter if you file a bill day 1 or day 10 of pre-filing. That particular senator, when it comes to seniority, those numbers are kind of set aside for that particular senator. So my senator overall, out of all 34, she's ranked number 9. Okay. When it comes to seniority. And among Democrats, she's ranked number 3, I believe. Wow. And so when it comes to seniority, our bills and the numbering system is kind of high because of her seniority. Okay. Now, when it comes to understanding the legislative process and bills, there are different ways, I guess you could say, that they number. So we have, there are 2 General Assemblies. There are 2 sessions that make up 1 General Assembly. Okay. So in the first General Assembly, the first regular session, the numbers start at 1. All right. And then they run down until the last bill for the last day of filing that first year. The second session, those numbers begin to carry over within the first bill for that second regular session. So a lot of times you go online now, you won't see a bill starting at 1 for 2020. Okay. You'll see a bill starting with the last number that the first session ended off with. Oh, okay. Is there a clear line of demarcation? How do you know exactly when you're in which session? So on the website, when you go to the Missouri Senate or the House of Representatives, if you go to their legislation or their session tab, it'll let you know that whether we're in the first regular session, second regular session, or if we have an extraordinary session, which would then be a special session.
Special session. And is that kind of like what Governor Parsons called in regards to motor vehicle sales tax issues?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there would be an extraordinary session that would be highlighted under that under the regular session.
Excellent. And you brought up a huge point. You know, lots of folks like me might try to look something up. We can just go to the website and just Google Missouri Legislature or Missouri Senate or Missouri House of Representatives to find their webpage?
Yes, you can go to Google and you can put in Missouri House of Representatives or Missouri Senate to find their webpage, and then go under the Legislators tab to see the list of legislators on both sides. Or if you don't know who your particular legislator is, there is a Find Your Legislator tab where you can go in and plug in your address and your city, and it'll tell you from the federal level down to state who your legislators are.
Okay, okay. They're all in one spot?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Does it also give their contact information, like phone numbers and email addresses?
Yes, you'll find all the contact information, email addresses, and also office numbers of where they are in the building. So if you want to come visit your legislators, you can do that as well.
Okay, okay. Now, tell me about that, Dr. Groce. How is it, what's the best way for a citizen to be involved with their legislator? If there's an issue that a citizen's concerned about, what are some avenues that they may utilize to try to share those concerns or ask for information?
There's a few different ways you can do that. So one would be to call your legislator and try to get an opportunity to speak with them or speak with their staff regarding the issue that you have. Another way would be able to write your legislator and to be able to let them know, for example, with the governor, every call that comes into his office has to be logged. So anytime someone calls the constituency director's line or the constituency services line, that call has to be then logged into their book, so that way if there's ever a sunshine request to the governor's office, they have to have a list of every single call that comes in.
Wow.
So some legislators do that as well. Other legislators, you can leave messages, or you can write to your legislator, or you can come down to Capitol and visit. January through May is always the best time to come and see your legislator. I know most legislators always engage or ask for civil engagement from their constituents to come visit, because that's the best way to get their attention, is when we're in the legislative process, because when we're out of session, it's kind of hard because legislators are then back in the districts, or because we have a citizen legislature, they may have a regular 9-to-5 job that they may have to attend. So it's harder to catch them when we're in the interim session. I see.
And do I remember correctly that Mondays and Fridays are kind of when everybody's coming and going? Are those good days to visit, or do you think Tuesday through Thursday would be better?
Tuesday through Thursday morning, a lot of times are better. Mondays, legislators are coming in, and session doesn't normally start until that afternoon at about 4. Fridays, most legislators are back in the district by Friday because they have various meetings with constituents set up, or various businesses that they run that they have to get back to. So normally, Tuesday through Thursday morning would probably be the best time to catch your legislator.
Okay. Well, that's perfect. And unlike some other states, our legislature meets every year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we meet every year.
Okay. The things that you have to do are the budget. Are there anything else that you absolutely have to do as the Senate? Or
the main responsibility we have is passing the budget.
Just pass the budget. Okay.
We have to have a budget, and the budget has to be balanced every single year.
Okay. And when you say balanced, is that like if you start out with $10, that's all you get to spend? In
theory.
Okay.
So you also have, after we do the budget, you have a supplemental budget, which would kind of, I guess you could say, kind of take care of those accidentals, or take care of if a department runs over, then you have another pot that you can kind of use during the interim time period if other funds need to be allocated.
Okay. Well, that's important because government provides some essential services to its citizens.
Yes.
It'd be terrible to think that you just ran out and we just stop, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, well, that's perfect. Can you tell us, I know that there are a number of bills, and probably, being there almost a decade, you could talk to a lot. One I wanted to ask you about was voting and voting rights.
Yes.
Is that a priority? You see some successes coming in that way? Tell us your perspective.
Voting is always a priority, whether it is fighting voting suppression bills, whether it is trying to get more people registered to vote, or whether it is working on the issue of trying to get former felons or ex-offenders their opportunity to vote back. Voting is always important. It is an essential right that everyone has, and it is something that needs to be protected.
Absolutely. Missouri was one of the few states that actually had that in the Constitution. And I guess it was in there in a couple of different spots too, fortunately. And so there's some litigation going on against voter ID, which was enacted, back in 2016, 2017, somewhere around there?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about the voters' rights work for returning, for felons or returning citizens. How does that work? Can they vote now? And tell us about that.
Well, in Missouri, they do not have the right to vote, and so that is something that Senator Nasheed is looking into, and that we are trying to work on for the upcoming 2020 session. And what we're trying to do is that it is a criminal justice reform, because if you've been into the criminal justice system, and if you have served your time, if you have, whether it's through finishing with parole or if you served all your time on the inside, if that time has already been accomplished, why are we continue to punish people from not allowing them to have their rights reinstated? I look at it as the same way as if you have a child, and if you punish your child, when that punishment is over, you don't continue to punish them for the same thing that they've already done,
right? Because
that time is over. Now you want them to get on the right track. And if our criminal justice system is about reform and about rehabilitation, then we need to, after people have come home and are trying to turn their life around, then I believe it's important that we give them the right to vote back, so that way they can continue to be a productive citizen in society. Because how can we ask people to participate and be engaged in politics and what's going on in their communities when a lot of our people don't have the right to vote?
Right.
And so we have to understand that even in the criminal justice system, most of the offenders are African American. Yeah. And so if most of the offenders are African American, when it comes to an African American community, a lot of people are disengaged, because if they can't vote, they don't have a voice anyway. So most people will say, well, then why should I pay attention? Why should I come out and listen to what legislators have to say? I don't have a voice when it comes to voting anyway.
Right.
So we want to change that narrative. We want to give people their right to vote back, so that way everybody can have a voice to be able to voice their concerns.
Sure, sure. No, I certainly understand that. Let me see if I can clarify a couple of points on that. So these former offenders, these returning citizens who may have had a felony, and that could be anything from writing a bad check to, more serious things where you hurt somebody, right?
Yes.
They don't have the right to vote right now.
Yes, sir.
But they still have to pay taxes?
Yes, still got to pay taxes.
Well, that doesn't seem very democratic, does it?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm with you. I remember there was a big tea party. Something about paying taxes and not getting to say where the money went.
Exactly.
People don't like that.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. So we take your money, but you can't tell us what to do with it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I suspect that some of the disparities that folks complain about within these communities that are heavily affected by the prison, the school to prison pipeline, as it's been called, or even where people are coming back from after being incarcerated, having less of a voice about what resources to actually come there.
Yes.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Do the returning citizens, do they get counted as in the census? Do you know?
And so we actually have a bill for that as well.
Oh, is that right?
Senator Nasheed is very progressive in that aspect. We have we filed a bill where those folks who are incarcerated, they can be counted where their last address was versus being counted in the prison that they're in. Because a lot of times when if you're in prison and working in the Capitol and talking to various family members who have had somebody incarcerated and looking into their cases, you may be from St. Louis, but you may be incarcerated in Jeff City. You may be incarcerated at a prison on the other end of the state.
Right.
And you're being counted in those areas, but really that's not where you reside. You should be counted where your last known address was to be a part of that community, because that's where you're returning when you come out.
Right.
And so you should be counted where you're going to live or where you were living prior to where you are incarcerated.
Instead of counting a St. Louisan at somewhere close to Cameron.
Exactly.
Right? They need to be
Exactly.
counted back at St. Louis, where they're
Exactly.
from. Okay.
Because what that end up does, or what I believe that will do, is it will actually increase those areas, and now a place that has truly a small population now has more representatives in the House and more people in the Senate because of that population, where most of the population is coming from prison and not really from the citizens that live in that area. So it's incumbent upon us that we count those people where they were originally from, or where they're going to go back to, because that's the community they're going to live in.
Yeah. Yes. You know, and I know that we have a number of other questions. Wanted to talk to you about some other legislation.
Yes.
You know, that's either good or bad, things that are coming up. Can you join us for another segment?
Yes.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yes, I'd love to.
Thanks. Thanks. Well, we've been here with Dr. Groce from Senator Nasheed's office, the state senator from St. Louis. We certainly appreciate the time and the information, and we're going to come back. There's legislation to watch. There's been some successes, and there's some issues. There's some issues that we as citizens have got to be concerned about. So please join us for our next segment when we talk to Dr. Groce about those issues. Thanks for joining us at the Rod Chapel Show.
I'm Shelley Locke with Child Care Aware of Missouri. We're committed to helping families find child care and early learning programs that meet their needs. Finding the right child care or preschool is one of the most important decisions parents make. We help parents understand the types of programs available and the state's licensing rules. We also provide tips on what to look for when you visit possible programs for your child. Call us today at 866-892-3228 or visit us online at mo.childcareaware.org. Child Care Aware of Missouri, Missouri's most trusted child care resource.
Hi, I'm Rod Chapel, and welcome back to the Rod Chapel Show. Today is just another fabulous opportunity to learn from someone with a wealth of knowledge from inside state government, literally inside the Capitol. As many of us in Central Missouri have been looking at the Capitol being under repair, there are many revisions going on, and whether that's to the criminal justice system or our system of democracy. I hope that today's show provides some insights. We have a true expert with Dr. Jason Groce, who's spent nearly a decade in the state capitol and serves as the chief of staff for Senator Jamila Nasheed from the city of St. Louis. Doctor, thanks for joining us again.
Yes, sir. It's my pleasure.
There were some, in the first segment, we kind of talked about government, how it works, you know, the democracy with the three branches. And now I'd like to really just focus on a few topics, maybe their bills or maybe their legislative priorities.
Sure.
And just tell the folks what they need to know about these, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. One that I know is on the minds of a lot of people is Medicaid expansion. Can you tell us really, Medicaid, we understand that's a government system to provide, I believe, health care to people who are of low economic means, right? People who, to be truthful, are poor.
Yes.
Right? They may be working, they may have some disability that prevents them from working, and it can include children, right?
Yes.
And certainly seniors and elderly?
Exactly.
Okay. When we say Medicaid expansion, what do we mean?
Really, we're meaning expanding services that are helping those who are less fortunate, are helping those who are poor, helping the elderly. And so we want to make sure that these citizens have, or what we like to call the most vulnerable population, have the necessary tools that they need, the necessary funding that they need to be able to get the health care, to be able to go see the doctor, get bills paid, to be able to live and get the necessary things that they need. And it's not just, and a lot of times we look at these situations and we see things on TV, we see these programs, and we look at the African American population or Latino population as using these resources. But here in Missouri, Missouri has a population of Caucasian, of whites who are on this program, and a lot of them use the services more so than any other demographic because of certain neighborhoods or certain city living, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, sure.
So a lot of times we have a large white population that are on these services as well.
Yes, and that's interesting because I think you're right. It's tempting to paint with a broad brush and say that, you know, this is going to help that group or this group. The truth is that Medicaid expansion provides health care to people who can't afford it, regardless of color, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and it doesn't matter whether you live in a rural setting or an urban setting, does it?
Exactly.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you see that as being something that is going to have unifying support or unified support through the Republicans and Democrats alike, or do you think that this is going to be more of a one-party issue?
I believe it's more so a one-party issue. I don't really see the Republican Party, as Missouri has it right now, coming around to do Medicaid expansion. I know there's been different talks and different conversations, but as a whole, I don't see their party moving forward with Medicaid expansion as it stands.
Yeah.
Unless there are different epidemics going around right now with the vaping and different things. Unless some of that has something to do with their party base, I don't think that's going to move forward right now.
And I understand that might be something that has some legs on an initiative petition standard. And tell me if I've got this right. Citizens can propose an idea that it be added to the Constitution through an initiative petition.
Yes.
Okay. And that's one way where if you have a legislature that's not inclined to move forward with a policy, the people's voice can still be heard.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Missouri's a little different than some states because we actually still have that ability here, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Now, I know that this is a huge problem, but I don't understand why. Sex trafficking, can you tell us what that is and why the legislature, what the legislature is doing about it and what citizens ought to know?
Sure. Sex trafficking is a big epidemic even here in Missouri. Missouri is ranked, I believe, number 16 in the country when it comes to sex trafficking because of the I-70 corridor, which runs all the way up and down. And so if you're caught in sex trafficking and the traffickers get you to I-70, it's almost impossible to find that person because I-70 it runs so wide. And so back in 2015, I believe, Senator Nasheed, we proposed a Senate concurrent resolution that the governor at that time passed, that he signed into law once we passed it, to be able to make January Sex Trafficking Awareness Month. Okay. And so what we have done since then is we hold annual rallies every January in the Capitol, and we have organizations coming from all over the state. From Kansas City, from St. Louis, from the Boot Heel of the state. We have people coming from all over to talk about their organizations and to showcase different information that people would need to know in the Capitol, or even visitors that's coming to let them know about these organizations and information that they can do and how they can notify the authorities when it comes to sex trafficking. And we always have a rally every year where we started off in our first rally, we've had victims, prior victims of sex trafficking who was able to get out of the situation to come and tell their story. And we had a lady who came our first year who is now blind because of the situations with her that happened during sex trafficking. And she has an amazing story. She comes every year to talk with people and to share her story and to share what she can about her experience so that other young ladies and also young men don't get caught in the sex trafficking. Wow.
Well, Doctor, first, you've got an amazing ability to share information and break it down so that folks can understand it. I suspect we'll be calling you professor, or you'll be working in education soon.
Yes, sir.
I understand with your background you can go many places. Question on the sex trafficking. You mentioned get out of it, have the ability to leave it. This is not like somebody going to work at Wendy's and they get to go home at night. Is this something else?
Yes, this is a totally different animal. And what people don't understand is there have been opportunities where traffickers have solicited young kids through way of email, through way of job announcements, saying that they have been selected for an interview, and if they come to a certain location, they can come and receive an interview for a job without necessarily knowing information about the job, without knowing the details of the company, anything like that. And you have some young people who go and are never seen from again. I actually heard of a story last year of a young lady who received the email and didn't tell her mom. She was trying to surprise her mom by getting a job. Wow. And so she was doing everything she can to receive this job, and then her mom just so happens to get the alert on her phone about the job offer.
Oh.
And when she saw it, there were questions that couldn't been answered that her mom had. So she told her daughter she's not going because there was no agency of the name of the job. There was no description of what the position would be. It was just you've been contacted for this offer. Meet us at this warehouse for this interview. And they have been taking children from that, taking our young people there. And by the time they get you there, if no one knows where you are, it's hard for them to be able to locate you because if they can get you to the highway, if they can get you to I-70, then it's harder to locate.
You're just gone. I've got two more questions. I know that I can't believe we've come to nearly the end of this segment so quickly.
Yes.
But two more questions. The first is St. Louis has a massive problem with women, and I take it female children that have been abducted. Is that still true?
Yes, there is an issue when it comes to that, and we're doing everything we can, working with the city to try to remedy that as best we can.
The second thing is, if the senator would consider perhaps one of these folks who are participating in the rally, telling their story about having been victimized through the sex trafficking, and it sounds like kidnapping in some version, perhaps coming on the show so that we can have a wider audience beyond folks who were there at the Capitol that day.
I think that'd be something we can do.
That'd be great.
I think we can schedule that.
And finally, I'd just like to say thank you, and thank you to Senator Nasheed. If you would extend my appreciation to her. There's never been a time that I've been in the Capitol and have gone to your office and not been able to speak with someone to get answers on questions I had. And even when nobody's there, people call me back. So
yes,
thank you. Thank
yes,
you very much. I
no
sure
problem.
appreciate that.
No problem. We do our best.
Well, and it shows. It
yes,
shows.
Sir.
Well, thanks for joining us on the Rod Chapel Show. Dr. Groce is just another one of the tremendous talents that are at work in the Missouri State Capitol, one of our public employees, often unsung heroes who work for too little money, long hours, under uncomfortable circumstances at points, sharing information with us that is so relevant, keeping us safe in our homes, regarding sex trafficking, and January being the month, that there's now a joint resolution to ensure that everybody understands how dangerous this is for our families in Missouri, but at the same time preserving citizenship, making sure that we've got the right to vote, and making sure that when people come home, having been away, whether it's in prison or outside of the state, that they've got the ability to vote as a citizen and say where their tax dollars go. That's democracy at its core. Thanks for joining us on the Rod Chapel Show.